Hi, guys. Oh, wait, you can't see me yet. There you go. Now you can see me, huh? See, I think that got me. Okay. What shall we do this evening? Okay, so how did you guys do getting your Microsoft Word module turned in? Okay.
Well, I had some complications, but I think went well.
But you got it figured out?
Yes, I
Okay.
think.
Okay. Um, I've heard from some people that had some problems, but I think we got those straightened out for them, so that was good. Um, all right. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So we'll see if we get some other people to come in here. Um, okay. So while I'm getting this all pulled up here, um, I see a couple of you commented in the chat here. That is totally fine. My daughter started law school this spring, and she said that they make heavy use of the chat during their Zoom meetings. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Um, I don't know how much they're paying attention to their professors, but they have a lot of side conversation going on, I guess, which is okay, I guess, if you can keep up with all that's going on. So, and I apologize, I forgot to send an email until I sat down here and I was like, oh yeah, I was supposed to send an email. Um, so that might be why we're having a little bit of delay in getting some people here. Um, okay. That's not what I want. Okay, so let me go in here where I'm supposed to be. You would think that by doing this an entire semester, I would have figured out now how to get into Zoom, but I struggle every week um, figuring that out for some reason. I don't know what my problem is, but okay. is probably why I don't do it, because I can't figure out how to do it every time. All right, guys, bear with me. I'm getting there. Maybe I'm getting there. Why is this so difficult for me? I don't know. I don't understand. Okay. Well, I think I got that sent. Okay, so now I need to get to the proper screen over here for you guys. There we go. All right, so tonight we are going to look at Module 2 for Microsoft Word. This project has us creating a research paper. And if you haven't looked at it, don't freak out because it's not like a 5-page paper or anything. It is just a little over a page. So it's not too bad to have to type it up. The thing that I think is really nice about learning to do the research paper with this, well, the thing that I hated doing most about research papers, and it's been a while since I've done one, but um, the works cited or the bibliography at the end was always the worst part for me. Especially when I had to do it on a typewriter. So most of you guys probably never had to put anything on a typewriter, um, but I did. And so you had to figure out how much space you had to leave at the end before you could, so you could stop and have enough room to put your footnotes at the bottom or things like that. So it was not necessarily a lot of fun. Where is my paper here?
Are we supposed to be doing something right this second?
No, I'm getting the research paper pulled up for you guys so I can show you some of the things that I'm going to do as that you'll be doing. I will kind of skip over um, parts of your textbook that you guys will be responsible for. Um, so I just got that pulled up. I'm sorry. All right. I want to see just one page of that. Okay, before I share that screen with you for the Microsoft Word, I wanted to ask you guys if any of you have watched the Zoom, I'm sorry, the project assignments that I have posted, that are basically YouTube, that I've put out on YouTube, that I give you the link to, for the textbook projects. Have any of you watched any of those?
Yes, I have.
Okay, were they blurry?
No.
They weren't. Okay. That's good because when I tried to watch one last night on the computer I was using, it seemed very blurry. So I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't for you, or I was going to have to make some changes to that. So that is a good thing. So, all right. So in module 2, it gives you some information about MLA style versus APA style. You're going to be using the MLA style for this research paper. So if you are using any other format for any papers that you're doing for yourself, you'll just need to make sure that you get the settings correct for that. And once we get in here, I'm going to show you how we can change the settings to work for some of the different styles that you might be using to create a research paper. There is a section there that gives you all the parameters for the MLA. And we also will be creating a third page of this, which is our works cited page. Now, the wonderful thing about that works cited page is as we put our sources in, as we go through here, it puts all of that in the correct order. And I always had problems with, do I put a comma? Do I put a period? Do I use quotation marks? Is it supposed to be underlined? Is it supposed to be italicized? So all of those things it does automatically for you. All right, so let me pull up this Word document here, and I'll share this screen with you guys. Okay, so this is the report that you'll be creating. And you guys are probably familiar with this. I never wrote research papers like this. All of this information that's on the left-hand side here, that was all on one page that was called the title page. So they've cut down on having to kill one piece of paper for 4 lines of text, which is probably a good thing. We're also going to look at how to put in this header up here. But one of the first things that you'll want to do is we have to make sure that our research paper is set up properly. Your default setting in Microsoft Word is that your line spacing is not truly single spacing. It is, if we look up here at the line spacing, well, this one is set at 2 points because that's what it is. But by default, it's set at this 1.15. So instead of having one line of text right underneath the other, it gives you a little bit of space so that the words aren't right next to each other for each line. You can see on our research paper here, we are going to change that to 2.0. So we have double spacing. So it's easy for your instructors to read that and get some notes in there where you need to make some changes. One of the things that is a challenge for students in this module is modifying a style, and that's one of the first things that you do. We have our normal style that we typically use. There is not a setting for research paper style. You could probably create one of those if you wanted to, and you could name it MLA style so that all of the settings are correct for you. So let me just open up a blank screen here so this works a little bit more correctly as it will for you. So before you begin doing any typing, you're going to come up here to your normal style, and then you'll just right click in that normal style, and you get this little shortcut menu. You'll go in and do modify, and this is where you'll make the changes. You're going to we actually changed a few things here, and then we'll go to another way to make some changes. But you could do them all from this screen if you wanted to, if you knew how to get to where you were going. So you're going to change the font um, to Times New Roman, um, and then your font size you'll change to 12. Um, then I will show you. So these are your left, center, right, and full justification icons. You're just going to leave that at left. The next three icons, any of this here, this particular dialog box does not have your little screen tips that pop out. I would say maybe 3/4 of the dialog boxes have that in this new version of Office. They've never actually got them 100% all done, and I don't know if it's just an oversight from Microsoft or they just are going on to the next one without getting all the screen tips set up. But um, these next three icons here are your spacing. So this first one is single spacing. The middle one is 1.5, so 1.5. And the last one here is double spacing. So you could set that here. They don't show us, they don't have us do that right now. Um, the other thing you want to make sure that you have selected is that it says only in this document down here. And then you can click your OK button. Now you're not really going to see any changes because we haven't got anything typed. But you will see up here where it's been changed to Times New Roman and the font is 12-point font. If you were to come here to the line spacing, it's not showing that it's 2-point, but it should be a 2-point font there. Or I'm sorry, a 2-point line spacing. Or no, we did not change that yet. Sorry. Because the next thing they have you do is they show you how to do these changes from your document, and then we're going to update the changes to the normal style. So technically, you could make all of these changes in your document here, and then come up here to the normal style and choose update normal to match selection. So that's what we're going to do here. You'll go in and you'll change the line spacing to 2. And the other thing that you're going to do is, oh wait, maybe you don't do that. I think we do. Yes. So the other thing is after a paragraph, we want to take out any extra space. We looked at this in module 1, and but when we looked at it, it was under the layout tab. So if you remember here, the before and after spacing in our paragraph section of our layout tab, you can come here and set it to 0. You can also stay on your home ribbon and in your line spacing, change this to remove space after paragraph. Okay, so once you have all of those changes made, and like I said, you can do all of those in your, if you go into the modify, you'll see here that we have all of these changes made. The line spacing is set to double. The other thing that you needed to do is the no space after, and you would need to do that by coming into the format and then going into the paragraph option here. And then here is your spacing after. That should be set to 0. So you can do it either way. And then you just need to make sure that you choose here, update normal to match selection. So now if I go into modify You should see down here that the font is Times New Roman. It's a 12-point font. It's left justified. The line spacing is doubled. And then you can see that those are highlighted there. And then you would have to go into the paragraph to see that there is no spacing after. And here's also where you can see your line spacing. So like I said, you can do that all at one place, but they show you in your textbook how to do it in multiple places so you can figure out which way works best for you. The next part is creating a header and footer. Um, and so you will create your header. There's a couple of different ways you can do this as well. You can go to your insert tab, and then you will come over to the header and footer section, and you'll go to the header, and you get some of these that are predefined. We're going to skip over those. We're going to go down to the bottom where it says edit header. When you open up your header section of your document, by default, it has your left align at the left margin. There is a center tab, which is identified by this upside down T. That is a tab stop. And then over on the far right-hand side, that upward pointing white triangle, let me move that out of the way. This right here, this is your right margin, or your end of your page on the right. And then you'll notice that there looks like there's a backwards L next to that, which was actually on top of that. That L is called a right alignment tab. So if you press your tab key one time, let me turn on this so you can see where I've tabbed. So when you have your show hide turned on, you'll see the arrow is what is your tab. So if I tab first, it goes to the center. And then as I type, the words go back and forth each direction. If I tab one more time without typing anything, I go all the way to the right margin. And then as I type my name there, you can see that it goes from the right and it moves back to the left because of that right alignment there. Now, I show you those things not so that you will do them, but so you have an understanding that they are there, because you're going to do something just a little bit different. They have you, instead of tabbing over here to the right margin, they have you change the justification. So you're going to change from left alignment to right alignment for your header. So make sure you do that part, even though you have the ability to do it the other way. And then you're going to type, what is it? Yazzie, or I don't remember what it is, but you'll type in the name that goes with this, and then to put in a page number, you have to use what's called a field, because if you don't, if you just were to use the keyboard and type a number 1 in here, every page would have the name and a number 1 after it. And that's not what you want. You need it to adjust as it goes from page 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. So we have to come over here to the page number section of our header and footer ribbon. So if for some reason you've clicked outside of that and gone to the home ribbon or something, you have to make sure you come back to the header and footer one. And then in the page number, you go to the current position, and then I think you just put a plain number in. And so that shows you that you're number 1, you're on the first page. So you're done with your header. There's a couple of different ways you can get out of your header. You can come up here and click the close header. You can also toggle back and forth between the header section and your actual document by double clicking in either one of those. So if I come down here into my actual document, I'll double click, then I can double click up here in the header, and it toggles me back and forth. Um, so either way that you want to do that, I just like to give you guys some options that I know of. I'm sure there might be some other ways, but those are the ones I know. So, okay. So what else do we need to look at here? As you get ready to type, you're going to type Nina here. And as you type the next row, I want you just to make sure that you have this double spacing here, because some people, they don't realize that they don't have double spacing until they get down to their document, and then they never fix it up here in this. I'm sure there's a name for this, but I call it the title page block. But I'm just gonna type this in here real quick. So you'll press your enter key after you have that date typed in there, and then in your textbook, it talks about using a feature that's called the click and type feature. So I want to show that to you. When you have your mouse on your page, remember when we have it over here in the left margin, it turns back to that arrow, but if it's in our text area, it's that I-beam. So the click and type feature, you'll see as you move your I-beam around, it has little justification icons that come with it. If you are all the way to the left edge, you'll see the left justify icon. If you move it in about a half an inch, where you typically would indent a paragraph a half an inch, then you'll see this icon that has the left justification, but with an arrow at the beginning, and that lets you know that it would indent that first line of your paragraph. If you move it over towards the center, your I-beam then has that center justification icon that comes below it. And if we move it all the way to the right-hand side, you'll see that the right alignment shows up. So your click and type feature, if you want to use it, you need to make sure that you're close to this next line where you're wanting to type. When you get to the center icon, you'll double click and it will move that insertion point over there. So you'll type your title there. Then when you press your enter key, this is another mistake that a lot of people make. They forget to change this back to left justification. So make sure that you change it back to left justify. Again, you can use your alignment tab up here, Control L, or you can use that click and type feature to move you back to the left-hand side. All right, if you are using Microsoft Office and you do not have your rulers that show up here at the top or on the left-hand side, you will want to make sure that those are showing for you to do this next part. Because we're doing a research paper, the beginning of each paragraph needs to be indented a half an inch. So technically, you could press the tab key and then type your paragraph. But what Sam is looking for is to see that you know how to set a first line indent for your paper. And the nice thing about learning how to set a first line indent is that when you finish with one paragraph and you move to the next paragraph, it's automatically going to indent that next paragraph for you, that first line. Because again, back to the typewriter, if you forgot to tab that beginning of that next paragraph, then you had to start the whole page over again. So that was frustrating back on typewriters. So what we want to do is we're going to use our ruler up here at the top. Um, and I refer to this um, white arrows over here. To me, it looks like an hourglass shape. So you have a triangle that's pointing down, and this is what's called your left indent. Um, you have the arrow that's pointing up, and that is a hanging indent. Now, the hanging indent has the first line of a paragraph would be at the left margin, and all of the lines below would be indented to the half-inch mark, which is what we see when we do bibliographies typically. So what we need to do, oh, I'm sorry. This is your first line indent. I knew I said that wrong. The square at the bottom, if you can get your mouse on it, that is your left indent. So that moves the whole thing. If you are ever doing a paper where you have to move your left margin in a half an inch and your right margin in a half an inch, if you're doing a long quotation, this is how you would do it by moving these indent markers on your ruler. So we want to take this top arrow that is our first line indent, and we want to move that over to the half-inch mark on our ruler. And so you'll see that my paragraph sign here has changed so that it is lined up with that half-inch mark. And then I would type my first paragraph here. So that's how you're going to set your first line indent. Now, when I type this and I press my enter key, okay, I didn't mean to do that. I want to kind of go to the next line here because I'm such a great typist. Okay, so you see here how my second line came all the way back to the left edge. But then when I accidentally hit this return key, my next paragraph automatically starts indented a half an inch. So that is what is key for having those first line indents. So you're not going to forget to press that tab key. It's going to go in automatically each time you press the enter key. The next section in your textbook is that autocorrect as you type. Those are things like when you type a word incorrectly, like the or and, you probably know that it changes those automatically. You can make changes to your autocorrect options or to your words that are auto-corrected. I always type the word computer incorrectly, but it's not the same incorrectness that's in the spell checker part. So I can add the way that I type computer incorrectly to my list of words that are automatically corrected. And again, there's a couple of ways that you can do this, that you can go into to make those changes. But probably the easiest is you go to the file, to the backstage view, and then you go down to the very bottom where it says options. And then you're going to choose the proofing. And then here is the autocorrect options. So what I do is I type in computer. Okay. I don't know, TEUR or something like that is how I type it. Okay, so this typing is different than this typing. So now if I type it incorrectly either way, well, I have to spell this one right first so for it to get replaced with the correct word. So you would just make sure you have the correct word here, and then when you add it, it'll show up in the list there. And so either one of those mistypings will be replaced with the correct spelling of computer. And there's a little bit more information in there on the autocorrect options that you can work with or you can read more about. All right, so we're getting ready to put in our citations now, or we're learning how to do our citations. So before you start putting in citations, you need to make sure that you have changed to the correct bibliography style. That is in the reference tab. So before, and you could do this at the very beginning of your document before you start typing. And that's really where I would have to do it, because if I didn't do it then, I would forget to do it. So in your references ribbon, in the citations and bibliography section, you'll have a style section there. I don't remember what it's usually set at, probably the APA, but you'll see that there's a Chicago style, some of these other ones. So if you recognize any of those other styles, or if you use those are the ones that's available to you. But the MLA style, what we're using, the other thing you need to kind of watch is the APA is the 6th edition and the MLA is the 7th edition. Because I don't use these frequently enough, I don't know if there's updates that come out, like if the 8th edition of MLA were to come out in the next year or two. Is that something that's updated in Microsoft Office for us? I do not know the answer to that question. But what I would do is I would still use the one that is the closest. And then you'd be able to make any modifications, hopefully a little bit easier than having to do it all from scratch. I would definitely use the references bibliography options, because it's really pretty slick if you've never used them before. Okay, so you're going to be somewhere in your document, and you will have to watch and make sure, because sometimes they tell you to just press a space bar after your word, and then you're going to type your citation. And then other times, and it's not necessarily citations, it's just other things that you'll be doing, that you do them after you type the punctuation. So just pay attention to that and make sure that you're following the directions that it asks you to. So here we've typed part of our paragraph, and then we're going to come up to our references tab, and then we are mainly going to work in the citations and bibliography section here. You will go to the Insert Citation button, and you will have the option of doing Add a New Source or Add a Placeholder. Right now, we're going to add a new source. Later on, they have you add a placeholder. And basically, a placeholder is you're putting in the author's last name and saying, hold this space for them. And then later on, I'm going to go in and add all of the source information that I need to for that particular reference. So for now, we're going to choose add a new source or create a new source. And what you'll do is, the first thing is you want to make sure you're having the correct type of source, because right now it's set on a website, and you know probably from doing some research papers of some kind that you need different information from a website than you do a article in a periodical. Which is also different from we have a book somewhere. Yeah. So here's a book. So by selecting the correct type of source, you'll get different options here that you need to complete for your bibliography. So this first one is an article in a periodical, which, if my recollection serves me correctly, that's what I use most of the time. Um, so when you do this, um, it's probably a good idea to come down to the lower left-hand corner here where it says Show All Bibliography Fields. So you can click that arrow. And when you do that, you'll see that the little red stars show up. And most of the time when we see that, I think that is a field that you have to complete, and it's not. This is just recommended. Um, so you would put the author in, which I don't know the author, so I'm just going to type James Harold James, and then the title of article. And then name of, I'm just going to put magazine because that's easy. So one thing you need to watch when you're doing this, or another thing that you need to watch while you're doing this, is it will have the year, the month, and the day. This is when it was published or whatever. Then if you scroll down, you'll see that it's the year access, the month access, and the day access. This is probably more for when you're doing like websites and things. But if you're doing an article in a periodical that is on a electronic version, then you're probably going to need to have that information of when you um, accessed it. Um, so, like I said, it's a good idea to go ahead and do the show all bibliography fields, and that way you'll get all of the fields. So as you're working through this, you'll make sure you get the correct information. You will use the medium um, quite a bit. Um, and so it's either going to be print or web or some of those others. So that's what it means by the medium. So if you are not showing all bibliography fields, you will see that one. Um, but just make sure you follow along with the directions because it will tell you which of those fields that you need to work to make sure you get filled in. All right, so I'm just going to cancel out of that for now. All right, so we're going to get to the end of our second or third paragraph, I can't remember, and then we're ready to put in a footnote. So our footnote is going to go at the bottom of our first page for this particular document. And because we're using the MLA style, we are using footnotes and not endnotes. So at the end of your paragraph, wherever that be, I think we type our period in this one. Yeah. So you'll type your period at the end of whatever sentence you're at, and then you're going to need to go up here to your references tab, and now you'll use this footnote section. And you want to insert a footnote, and when you do that, it is going to put this little superscript 1 right here where your insertion point was, but it also will scroll you down to the lower part of your document where you will see that the matching superscript 1, and your insertion point will be there to type your footnote. Now, I have had a lot of people, I don't know what they do when they get to this footnote section. You don't want to press tab. You just want to leave it right there, and you're going to start from right there. I don't know what people do, but they get stuff all wonky in here, and then it doesn't ever grade it properly because it's adjusted and they can't figure out how to get it adjusted back. So if for some reason something happens, I would suggest um, hitting your undo button until it goes away, and then you can just start over again. So don't just keep going on if it doesn't work properly the first time. You can always go back and add your footnote later on after you've typed everything else. So just undo it and then maybe go back and look at it a little bit later on. But I do want to show you as you get down here to type your footnote. Um, this is a double. Oh my gosh, I can't read it. Okay, so um, oops. I still didn't get that right. Whatever I did. Okay. So we have this typed in here, but what you notice about what's on my screen is this is all single spaced. And if I come back to my home ribbon, I am in Times New Roman, but it's a 10-point font. Um, and it is not double spaced. This also needs to have the first line indent. So this needs to be formatted exactly the same as the rest of our document, except for it has to have the superscript in front of it. So what you have to do is once you have this typed, you're going to right click inside that. And then you're going to go to style, and you need to make sure that you have footnote text is the style that is selected, and then you're going to modify that style. So you'll change it just like we did everything else. You want double spacing, and then you can come in here to the paragraph. There is no spacing after, but you will see here in the indentation under special, you can set that first line indent to a 1/2 inch. And then when you click on OK and then say OK here and then say apply here, that it now changes to match what you need it to match. Okay, so not only do you have to modify the style in your whole text or your whole Word document, but you also have to do the style because it is a footnote style that has your superscript there with it. The other thing that they have you do is set a placeholder here. So you would have to, and I think they have you do these in the reverse order of what I did, but I can't remember. So you would come here to insert citation, and then you would just do a placeholder, and then it's Clark and Nadir. Oh, maybe I can just do one name. I don't know. It's not letting me. Okay. When you get this typed in here, you will also do some modifications to it because in our footnote where we've typed the author's name, we do not need the author to show up in our parenthetical citation that we're putting here. So You can, from your drop down arrow here, um, edit the citation, which is just going to be what shows up here. Um, or you can go in and edit the source. So the source is where you would type in, um, I think this is a book. Um, and because you have two authors, um, you would have to put them in. You'll add this one, and then you'll come back and put in the nadir. Um, I don't. These are not the correct names. I'm just coming up with this stuff off of the top of my head right now because I don't want to scroll through the textbook. So, I would put both of those in, and it would put those correctly. Um, um, Also, I will tell you as I'm typing this information, if you misspell anything in your sources, it will count off for that. So you need to make sure that you get the year um, published, the city published, the medium, all those things. You need to make sure you get all of that typed in exactly as it needs to be. So I went ahead and put this information in here so we can see this citation pop up. And again, like I said, we don't need Clark and Nadir because it already is showing here. So this is where we would do edit the citation, and we would put in um, 178 and 179. I don't know. Now, if I click the OK button, do you see how it left the Clark and Nadir there? That's the authors. So you will sometimes have to, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. You will sometimes have to suppress the author. Um, and so now here it has the title. So it's always a good idea to just click all of these because all you want showing is the pages. Um, so once you have it set, you should just see the pages show up at the end of that footnote. All right, so I know that was a lot on the footnote section, um, but you will have to make sure that you do all of those things. So hopefully you can either come back and look at this or look at the one I put out for the going through this entire project. Okay, so let me get to the right page here. In your textbook, it does talk about the difference between footnotes and endnotes. So if you're not sure what the difference is there, you can read up on that. The other thing I will show you real quick, which you may or may not know or you may or may not need, but I know my daughters in high school had to write 250 words or 700 words or whatever. So you can look down here on your status bar, and it will tell you that you're on page 1 of 1 and I have 50 words, or sort of words, if you can call them words. Um, so as you will add words, it will add the words down here. This is also a good thing to compare when you get to this section of your textbook and you run or you look at the word count. If yours matches up, then you probably have everything typed correctly up to this point. Some people have, 2 or 3 words more, some have 2 or 3 words less. That's always kind of a clue. Maybe you left out the word a, maybe you left out the word the. So you can always kind of use that as a comparison option there. when you are working in Microsoft Word, let me just go back to this one here. Um, when you get to the end of page 1, it automatically is going to take and move that next text to line 2 or to page 2. This is what's called automatic page breaks or soft page breaks, when the computer automatically calculates when it needs to go from one page to the next. When we finish with page 2, we use what is called a hard page break, um, or um, a manual page break. So you'll see here when I turn the show hide button on that there is a page break here. So after I have pressed my enter key and I've come down to this blank line, I press, well, there's a couple ways to do it. I learned how to do this by pressing Control Enter 20, 30 years ago. So that's how I do it. I just do Control Enter. And if I have to use the ribbon to do it, I really struggle because um, I think it's under layout. Yes. And so then you'll see breaks and you can just do a page break here. Um, so if I take this page break out, one, you'll see that works cited page pop up to the screen. If I come back and I put my page break in, you'll see it show up here, and then my works cited pops down to the next page. So soft page breaks are here. Hard page breaks are going to look like this. Um, I think it's in module 3 that we talk about this, but you'll see your pages separated here so that you can see an entire page. If I make this a little bit smaller, you'll see. So here's page 1, then the margin and the page 2. If you put your mouse between those pages and double click, it's going to hide all of this white space here. And I'm going to show you this just so you can see this gray dotted line that comes across here. This is what is shown if there's a soft page break. So that's telling you that the computer is telling you this is where page 1 ends, and this is where it begins. And now you'll see it here, even though there's a page break, it just lets you know if you double click this, this is where page 1 or the page 2 would be, and then page 3. Speaking of page 3, I do want to bring your attention to the header here. Notice that it has the person's last name and a number 3 here. That's because we put in that field for the page number. Oh, I lied. It shows you that in the next couple of steps there. You will have to come back in and edit a source. So let's go back to our references tab or ribbon. And then, I think you've typed the name of the article or the name of the magazine or something incorrectly. So in your citations and bibliography, you'll go back into manage sources, or you'll click on manage sources, and then you will see over here on the right hand side of this source manager the 3 sources that you have used for this research paper. And I don't remember which one, but you'll select the one that you need to edit, and then you'll click the edit button, and then you'll go in here and make changes to whatever it is you need to make changes to. And then you'll click the OK button, and then you can click close, and it will update. It will make that change. If you have already entered the information in your works cited page, you will have to right click on here and then choose the option. Well, let me show you that again. Okay, you'll click inside your you'll click in your reference section or your works cited section. And then if you do a right click anywhere in there, you'll see where it says update field. And when you update field, then whatever changes have been made will update here. Okay. Well, that's silly. So it tells me that I have been timed out of Cengage, even though I've been using it. So that's very odd. Okay, it's not liking that for some reason. Maybe Cengage isn't working right now. Okay. So let's try this again. Okay. I was going to use my backup textbook on my phone if I had to, but it looks like it's going to let me back in. All right, so one thing I want to show you, um, if or when you finish with your research paper and you do that control enter to start a new page, um, your works cited will be indented. This first line will be indented, and you don't want that. So you have to make sure that you remove that first line indent. Otherwise, when you go to center your title here for works cited, it will not be centered and it will not be counted correct. So make sure you remove that first line indent. And then when you get ready, you'll press your enter key. And this is the cool thing, guys. You don't have to do anything else. Once you are where you need to be, actually, I probably should move this back to left justification first. Um, all you have to do is come up here to the bibliography section or button in your citations and bibliography section. Now, I will just tell you, this gets done incorrectly a lot of times. So I don't know if students aren't reading, if students aren't listening, if students just do what they want to do because they just do what they want to do. But you are putting in a works cited. If you use any of these options, bibliography, references, what I want to show you here is that it puts the word bibliography, it puts the word references. So if I did the one that says works cited, it would put the word works cited in there. We don't need that because we've already typed our title of this page in here. So let me undo that. What you're going to want to do is come here and come all the way down to the bottom and just do insert bibliography. And what that's going to do is it's going to take those three sources that you've typed in the information as it's supposed to be, and it will put those in there in the order that they need to be, with the periods and the spacing and the commas and the italics and everything else just exactly the way it needs to be. So make sure that you follow those directions carefully when you are getting ready to do that. Okay, in your textbook from here on out, it shows you how to go in and edit the source and then how you need to update your bibliography like I just showed you. You're also going to um, learn how to use your navigation pane. Um, with having only 3 pages, it's not going to be a big deal to learn how the navigation works. But if you're having to type a 10 to 12 page paper, that might be more beneficial to you as you go through those sections there. Okay, so at the end, you're going to make some editing choice or editing to your document. So you'll go in and you actually um, insert a citation in your text or in your text where you left it out. So somewhere along the way in your proofreading, you realize, oh, this was supposed to have a citation with it, and you left it out. So you have to go back in and add that in later. Um, and then it shows you how to find text. And then once you have text found, you're going to have to replace it. So make sure that you go all the way through and do that replacing of text, or that will be counted off when it is graded. You also will be using the thesaurus to change words. So make sure that you change the proper word. Also, make sure that you use the spell check. Not necessarily as important as you're doing the project that you type up. It's a good idea to do that, but when you're doing the homework project, they're usually always put in some words that are misspelled on purpose, so that you to see if you catch them using the spell check. So make sure that you do that. The last part of this shows you how to use Smart Lookup and the researcher. Um, so here's your researcher here, and then I don't use the Smart Lookup, so I forget where it's located. Oh, maybe it's this one right here. Oh, I think you have to have something selected. Yeah. So like if you have the word technology selected, then you do the smart lookup and it brings up whatever over here. Oh, I must have been on the word risk somewhere. I don't know. So that's your smart lookup and your researcher. Um, it does have you change the zoom at the very end of this. So you probably want to leave it set to whatever zoom it has you change it to at the very end, um, because it might grade that. I can't remember for sure. It used to grade it on some of these. Um, but I can't remember with this new version if it does or not. You also will have to add a comment. Um, some of you guys have probably used Google Docs before, where you can share your work and people can make comments or people can change it depending on what privileges you give them. Um, so you'll learn how to make comments. And so you just need to make sure that you have those in and you spell everything correctly as you do that, because it will count those in the scoring as well. And you have to reply to a comment. I think you do that in the training too. Um, so just keep that in mind. Okay. The comment section is something that's new this in this textbook. We've had the comments before, but we've never used them um, for anything in class before. So, all right. So hopefully that will give you a little bit of a heads up. I skipped all of the typing parts, so You guys will have to just figure that one out on your own, but hopefully it won't be too bad. Any questions so far?
Yes, I'm confused specifically about the works cited part, like how to insert in your works cited.
Okay. Okay. So,
Unless in the textbook, does it break it down like how it did for the flyer module?
yeah, everything is broken down. Like it will tell you, you're going to insert a citation, and then you'll have that. I'm sorry, you're going to insert a source, and you'll have the little dialog box that comes up that lets you know you have to choose if it's a book, if it's an article, if it's a website, and then it will give you the specific data that you need to put in each one of those sources.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, you only have three sources. So it tells you what to put in each one of the boxes that you need. The only thing is that you need to make sure that you get it in the, most of the time, what's the problem is the date. It's either the date that it was done or the date that it was accessed. So you just need to make sure you get the correct date in there when you are putting that information in. But yeah, it's all spelled out in your textbook for you. And even when you get to the homework project, they have um, a screenshot of what each of those sources should look like. So you can follow those screenshots as you put your data in for your sources for that. So,
Okay. And as for the date you're talking about, what date do I need to be put in? Is that in the textbook or do I need to put like,
no, it'll be given to you. Like this research paper, I think, has the date of 2021, which um,
okay.
I think it's October. So you might have some, like June of 2021. I don't remember what all the dates are. So just whatever they give you in your textbook as far as what to put in each citation is what you'll want to use. It won't be
Okay.
anything that is the exact date that you um, accessed anything. It's all based on what's already defined by the textbook author. Okay, so hopefully you guys have figured out that you're just going to use your textbook as you go through and do these textbook projects. So if for instance you're having problems with that citation, then just go into your textbook and look at your table of contents and find out where you enter a citation. And then you can go to that part of your textbook and find the steps to enter a citation. Um, I would say probably the things that are um, the most difficult are changing the style of the entire project, but more so changing the style of the footnote because I guess people just think that that doesn't need to be done down there, but make sure you follow the directions to change the style of that footnote. And then people miss a lot of points because they don't go through and do the spell check or the thesaurus or the find and replace thing at the end. So make sure you go ahead and do all of that section at the end. Um, I know once you get that works cited page done, you're like, whew, I'm good, I'm done. But anyway, just make sure you do that. The other thing that people have a lot of problems with, especially in the textbook project, um, is, and I can't remember the homework project right now, but typing errors. Um, People miss a lot of points, and what it will say is the paragraph that begins with these words, da 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 da, is not found in the document. Well, you can see plain as day when you're looking at it that that paragraph is there. So what the problem is there is a typing error, there's a spacing error. Most of the time, it is a transposition of letters. A lot of times, it's where they've left the S off, or just simple typing errors. And what I would suggest to you to help with that proofreading is to look at the completed pages in your textbook. Always at the beginning of your textbook, it shows you what your project is going to look like. So if you look at that first page and then look at the end of each line and see what word ends each line. And if your project doesn't match up and end each line with that same word, then you probably can figure out where a typing error is in that paragraph somewhere. Sometimes they're just really difficult to find. And I know because I used to teach keyboarding classes, um, it's just like anything else. Some of us are good at singing and some of us are not so good at singing. Some of us are decent drivers, other of us you don't want to ride with. So proofreading is just the same as anything else. Some of us are much better at it than others. So feel free to have mom, dad, roommate, brother, sister, whoever's around, help you look through if you're having some difficulties finding errors in some of your paragraphs. So I had one student contact me and say, I've done this all, it looks right. And they were still getting like a 60% on their assignment. And then lo and behold, it comes up with a 97. And so somehow, some way, they figured out that there was, I don't know exactly what was wrong because I didn't look at it too closely since I saw that she got the 97. But so, feel free to have people help you figure things like that out, or anything else that you might be having problems with. But you can always contact me as well. So, okay. Any questions about what you're doing this week?
No.
No? Okay. Um, all right. Let me talk with you a little bit about what next week looks like. So next week we will um, do module 3 of Word, and then so you'll have all week to work on that. And I would also encourage you to kind of have a heads up for needing to start reviewing for your Microsoft Word test. Your Microsoft Word test is going to be um, all of the training questions that you've gone through, all those, the 25 questions that you have in all of your training. That is where I'm going to pull the test questions from. So you'll have 50 questions on your test and probably 30, 38, 37 to 40, I don't know, will be those tasks. And then you'll have 10 or 12 true, false, multiple choice questions as well. The true, false, and multiple choice questions really is just going to come from some from the reading, but also just understanding how things work in Microsoft Word. Um, you might um, you might use those flashcards that are given to you in the Cengage site to kind of help with some of that. So like things like paragraph versus character formatting. And there was another one that I'm trying to think of that I kind of looked over tonight, but it's not coming to me right now. But your flashcards may help with that. And I know, 75 training tasks is a lot to kind of cover, especially when, well, if you have nothing else to do in life, then that might not be a bad thing. But most of us have other things going on in our life. So what I always suggest doing is look at those trainings and, out of the 25, some of you might have 15 or 20 that you're like, I know how to do all of those. I don't need to review those. Some of you may have 8 to 10 or 14 that you need to say, I need to study more on these and I need to be more familiar with how this works. But that can cut down the number that you're going to have to review before you do testing. And I think that you guys are supposed to have your tests monitored through smarter proctoring. Used to, you didn't have to, but I think I either made it up or I got your classes confused, but I think it was reversed this semester and that you guys have to have proctored tests, but I will double check that and see. Um, I will tell you right now, if we do use smarter proctoring, they do have me put in a password, and it is about 60% effective of inputting your password for you. Um, it and Cengage do not, smarter proctoring and Cengage do not always work well together. I don't know why they can't get that figured out. Maybe they've improved it this semester, but I have to send out a lot of passwords. So um, we'll just see how it goes. If it's better, then hopefully it will work, because it's supposed to put your password in for you when you get signed in. If it doesn't, students just text me and I can put the password out there. If I get several of you that contact me, then I usually go ahead and just post the password in Blackboard so you guys can get it from there, and which will send out a message, an email with that as well. So, but anyway, that's just kind of a heads up. We'll have more information next week on testing, but I just kind of wanted to give you a little view of what that would look like. Okay. Any questions?
No.
If not, then I will let you guys do your work on your own, and you can contact me if you need anything. Okay. I will see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Bye. Bye, Drew.